After Saturday's draw with Wednesday, it's time for Blue Monday. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, covering all things Ipswich Town since 2015. My name is Mikey Penty-Smith, and after Ipswich drew another must-win game, I'm joined by Craig Finbow and David Diamond. How are your moods today after yesterday's roller coaster?
Yeah, all right. Better. It's got better. The graph has gone an upward curve as the day has gone on. So, yeah, we'll see.
Good to hear. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, I think I'm okay. Yeah, it was just a different context to the draw yesterday, wasn't it? Which I think was helped matters, I think. So, yeah, reasonably okay, I think, today.
You weren't crying over your Chinese takeaway last night then, Dave?
Was not crying up. It was a Trong's takeout, so you can't cry over that. That brings nothing but joy, for goodness sake. So yeah, that was a nice way to get over perhaps another 2 points dropped. But yeah, no, that was all good.
One Trong made it right or something. Two Trongs don't. No.
Yeah,
you're on the right track. You're on the right track, I think. There.
At least we've got a two-pronged attack.
Yeah.
Right, let's dip into the comments and see who's joining us tonight. Life's Too Short says, playoffs, here we come. Michael Warren, good morning all from Brisbane. I'd like to thank iFollow for letting us watch a total of 2.8 minutes of the match, as it would not work in Oz. Yeah, it was only available on the app yesterday. Matt Makin, evening all, tuning in from the ITFC women's minibus on its way back from a victorious day out for the Tractor Girls against Bridgewater this afternoon. I don't know if Matt's doing the double Southwest trips this week, going to Bristol Rovers as well. But yeah, a good response to the disappointing result last week, Dave. A 2-0 win at Bridgewater to get back on track.
Yeah, I think so. And I was sort of looking at the Telegram sort of responses and stuff, and did I get it right? Did other results perhaps go our way as well this afternoon? I'm not quite sure, but seemingly they did. I think Matt will no doubt put us right in a minute.
Put us right in the comments.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, but no, another good, obviously another good win.
Indeed, and Andres is with us tonight. Charlie D didn't like the opener, but says well done, Tractor Girls. Nick Muller says nice to bounce back from 2 down. Absolutely. Tom Bradford says he can't help but feel deflated even after coming from 2 goals down. Next 5 games has to be maximum points. I mean, I think that's going to be the flavour of tonight's show, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yesterday may turn out to be a good point, but only if we can be the flat track bullies that we were earlier on in the season. Eric Clacton's here, Romeo 4. Not quite sure what this one is. Paul Lambert could do a job at Portman Road. Okay.
They're still after a concessions manager or something, are they? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
MW's here, evening all. So, yeah, before we get on to the Wednesday game, we've touched upon Ipswich women winning 2-0 away at Bridgewater. There was a little bit of bad news that filtered around on Friday. We don't really know the extent of this news, but that was that Lee Evans had indeed suffered a knee injury against Cambridge. And we also found out that Longu wouldn't be fit to play either. A double blow this, Craig, and one that perhaps contributed to that first half that followed.
Yeah, we all know what Karen Humphrey's positives are and what he's good at, but yeah, it would have been nice to have had one of our maybe more experienced, maybe a bit sturdier, shall we say, central midfielders in there from the very beginning. There was a bit of a concern maybe that he'd get a little bit lost in the maelstrom that was a centre midfield, including Barry Bannon amongst others. But I think he grew into the game, didn't he? I didn't remember seeing too much of him first half, to be honest. And obviously we didn't have anything on the bench either, did we? As replacements. So yeah, we were really, really short there. Dominic Ball and can't come back to fitness suited quick enough, can he really? We haven't heard much about Kamara. That's just gone off the radar completely. So fingers crossed Lee Evans isn't too bad. But I think our resident leg doctor here, Mr. David Diamond, saw what he thought was a leg brace under his tracksuit, didn't he?
Definite knee brace. Yeah, definitely was. I think so. I think that's probably some sort of. It's not. You wouldn't think it's an ACL. He was sort of walking and obviously limping a bit, but maybe a medial ligament thing. But I think they're talking about scanning early this week, aren't they? I believe.
Probably wait for swelling to go down and stuff, don't they, before they
Yeah,
start scanning stuff.
And I think you're right, Craig. I think first half Humphreys was lost, really.
Yeah.
All right, he made. We'll get onto the goal. I suppose that's the first time he really showed in the first half that it just sort of passed him by. But he wasn't obviously the only one for the first 40 minutes. To be fair,
just puts a big onus on Morsey, doesn't it, to carry that whole midfield, which as a result, you sort of puts the spotlight on Morsey. You think, well, he's not doing much. Well, the poor guy's probably covering more ground than he particularly wants to. If he would do, if Evans was next to him, or maybe Luongo.
You think Luongo would have been absolutely perfect in there yesterday. Someone with a bit of nous, a bit of experience, and a good, lights attacker, as we know. So that was. But you're right. What you said, Humphreys subsequently then did certainly have a much more influence on the game second half.
Indeed, half a chance that Luongo might be all right to play Tuesday.
You don't know.
Hard to know, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a better game for Humphreys, that one.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, unfortunately, we're just not, dripping with central midfielders at the moment, are we? It's a shame. You can tell why we were quite keen to get Jack Taylor in from Peterborough during January, can't you? Really? Because sod's law, Liam's are going to get injured the first week or so into February once the transfer window slammed shut.
It's gone worryingly quiet about Camera as well, hasn't it? Just nothing coming out really about him. I mean, I think I read somewhere last week that perhaps both him and John Jules targeting a comeback at some point next month. But, by next month, that's another potentially, 6 games gone maybe?
I think Ball was quite bullish or ballish even. He was I think in the fan zone before the Morecambe game on the stage doing an interview, and he was quite bullish about being back for the last 10 weeks of the season, I think he said.
Okay.
So, hopefully he's going to be out. It might take a little while to get up to speed, but we just have not seen anything of him, have we? Him being a Kieran McKenna signing last summer for central midfield, and we haven't seen the poor boy hardly at all, have we?
No.
Even when he was fit, he couldn't get in the team.
No.
A few more people have joined us here, gents. There's Max FX from Good Morning from Melbourne. My mum's tuned in from the Mariners, so my dad's conversation is obviously really keeping her interested tonight in the Mariners.
Your mum, I love that.
Yeah.
Love that
Ian Wallbank, evening, gents, all about the next 5 games now, win or bust. Absolutely. And Matt Makin did come back. Dave, Oxford and Watford both won, as did Pompey, beating London Bees 4-1.
I did have it. I think I had it right, Matt. Perhaps I just didn't see the end game there. Yeah. So
just
quickly, Mikey, your mum knows. Your mum did know that Ben wasn't on tonight, didn't she?
I didn't tell her that bit. She probably tuned in. Was disappointed.
We've just lost
a
viewer.
Oh God!
We just lost a viewer. It's just gone down one.
Yeah, gone.
And we've got Nat, the Sheffield Wednesday fan. Good evening, lads, and chat. Yeah, hopefully this will be an extra enjoyable one for you tonight, Nat, because we're talking about your club more so than ever. Right, so let's get into the Wednesday game, and quite a few changes from the team that drew at Cambridge. Quite a few changes from the team that lost at Burnley in the Cup as well. A couple of surprises in there, Dave. Potentially one being that Hurst starts rather than Ladapo.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously Hurst got his due. I'll give it to Hurst. His first goal against Burnley, and I think generally led the line quite well. But I still think it's a little bit harsh on Ladapo. Burgess was the one as well, wasn't it? Burgess. There was talk of him, certainly on our sort of Telegram group. So there was talk of him sort of latter part of the week, and again, so not totally surprised to see him start, particularly given the physicality of Smith, who always is a handful against us and always seems to score against us. More of that later. But again, no mention of any. Well, I didn't catch it. No mention of any injury or knock to Edmondson. Did anyone pick up on that?
No.
Don't think so. So again, just out of the squad, and again, you do. I don't know, the settled back four. I mean, you do, obviously Clark in from Donasian, from the Burnley game. Obviously Clark was hooked at half time against Cambridge. Donasian came on. So I mean, yeah, I looked at it, as I said in the pub beforehand. Look, he's got his 3 new signings there: Clark, Broadhead, Hurst. I guess from the manager's point of view, you've got to play him, haven't you? Almost.
But you're changing
Lord,
again. You're changing your 2 centre halves, aren't you?
I know.
From last
that's
Saturday.
what Lord Ronald asks, Craig.
No,
Don't we need to commit to a defensive covalent bond and stick with 2 centre backs?
Certainly, I think certainly the centre backs. It's definitely the centre backs. Look, at this moment in time, I think we'd agree there's perhaps not a lot to choose between Clark and Donasian. Perhaps Clark gives you something a little bit more going forward, perhaps. But certainly the centre backs, you can't keep chopping and changing those.
Because you may get to a situation where your right-sided centre back doesn't know whether your goalkeeper's coming for the ball or not, and a 6'6" striker decides to just go wandering through on goal after about.
And I do like the right and left foot. I said it before. I do quite like the right and left foot combination. And probably looking at the game overall yesterday, Burgess was probably what the best, if not one of the best players, if not the best of the bunch yesterday.
He didn't do anything wrong particularly, did he?
No.
He just did his job and won his battles. And
distribution was good. I quite like that. We said before, that sort of naturally left-footed ball where he can, just ping it down the line, ping it left to Davis. I think it's safe to say it was his partner in the first half that struggled a little bit.
I think it was harsh on
that. It was horses for courses. Sorry, Craig, with Burgess brought in to deal with Smith.
Yeah, very possibly. Yeah, very possibly. And you can understand why for this, but we need to get to a point whereby, and I can understand why you do it for Sheffield Wednesday. They were top of the league, but we can't just keep tailoring and tinkering with our centre back partnerships for individual games. You've got to get to a point whereby you just trust them to do their job and to get on with it, because you're just not going to get an understanding with them and their right back and left back and their goalkeeper. They just need to get an understanding as a group. I just quickly, you got to feel sorry for Ladapo. And your crikey's been playing so well, scoring goals. He did well at Cambridge last week. Scored a lovely goal on the bench.
Yeah.
It takes a man management to explain that the reasons behind it. I'm not saying Hurst didn't play well, he did, but if you're Freddie Ladapo, there's not much more you can do to stay in the team, you wouldn't think.
And I think we all know, when we've all said, he's just not so effective coming on, is he, Ladapo? He just doesn't affect the game, really. No. Or he hasn't done. Maybe Portsmouth at home, apart, perhaps.
Let's have a look at the Wednesday team then, boys. And this is a team that Dave Diamond said earlier on in the season is bang average, aside from Barry Bannon.
Quote unquote.
Look, in my defence, it was very, very early in the season, and that was the frustration of having travelled to Sheffield and throwing away a 2-goal lead. So, in my defence, a little bit of frustration there, and it was quite early on in the season.
Probably the main thing that you'd say about this team, having seen them in the flesh now, Craig, is big old boys, aren't they? Land of the Giants, Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Certainly, when you got a 6'6" centre half and a 6'6" centre forward, you're set up to play in League One, aren't you? And even Dominic Orff, I don't remember Dominic Orff being quite as wide as he appeared yesterday. He was a bit more rangy, wasn't he, when he played for us? I appreciate it's a few years ago now, but he's a big old unit now as well, isn't he? So they reminded me very much, and one of the people in Telegram mentioned it about Rotherham from last year. They just looked a big, solid, strong League One unit, didn't they?
Yeah.
Flint just seems to get bigger.
Yeah,
he's huge.
It's the hair.
He's still growing, isn't he?
Oh, dear.
Nat says, to be fair, Wednesday haven't had the same back 3 or 5 in ages either, due to injuries. We've got to acknowledge that. We talk about our own injury problems, but Wednesday had problems. They didn't have their strongest bench for sure.
No Gregory was there.
yesterday.
No Wilkes. No Gregory.
No strikers
No.
was on the bench.
No.
Right, so let's get into this game then, and a scrappy first 15 minutes really. Burns gets down the right in the 15th minute, and we win a corner, and Burns then ends up winning a penalty, Craig, but not really anything that anyone had spotted, including the referee.
No, that's right. And just before that, actually, on the 7th minute, I noticed the first Sheffield Wednesday fan was escorted out of the away section because I looked straight across to it, and that's a good effort. 7 minutes in, isn't it, to be chucked out?
Well, I was watching on iFollow, Craig, and when they zoomed in on the away fans just before kickoff, you saw a steward talking to a Wednesday fan who necks his beer and then hands the empty beer bottle to the steward. Maybe it says a lot about the vibe in that away end ahead of the game.
Yeah, fair play. And they were good. They were loud as ever. They're always the best.
Yeah, they are. They really are. Yeah.
Come to the ground. But yeah, so in terms of the corner, it was either that or from the other side, wasn't it? It was from our side, wasn't it? Because the linesman in front of us, right in front of us, was the one that was doing the waving. But we didn't see what it was. We were looking at the action in the middle. But Burns goes down, and the linesman's adamant. His flag goes straight across his chest. Fair play to him. And on the replays, it transpires that. Not only did Johnson have one swing at Burns, he had a couple of swings at Burns with his elbow and eventually caught him round about the throat area, didn't he? But the referee couldn't apparently tell who it was exactly that swung the elbow, so he didn't get a red card for it. But luckily, we got a chance at goal from 12 yards out, which George Hurst was very, very keen to take because he took the ball. There was a long discussion between the referee and the linesman, say right in front of us, wasn't there, Dave? They were talking for a good couple of minutes.
And then it didn't stop. Once that carried on. So they really strung it out. And I said to my Jordan, I was with my lad. I said, this is a real pressure penalty now because it just built and built and built. And even when the ref gave the decision, they still weren't finished with the linesman. They must have had another 30 seconds almost go at the linesman. So it's all building up. Pressure on the penalty, isn't it? And on the penalty taker.
Yeah. But as I say, Hurst wanted to take it. He took the ball off of either the linesman or the referee down near us and sort of walked over to the penalty spot with it. But then, next time I looked up, it was in the hands of Connor Chaplin, who then side-footed it shin high down the middle of the goal. It was an awful, awful penalty, wasn't it? It doesn't matter. The goalkeeper, even if it died the other way, he'd still have stopped it because he just left it. His legs were still been dangling there from diving either way.
The frustrating thing of that penalty, he's such a good ball striker as well, isn't he? He's such a good finisher.
From that position as well, from 12
that
yards
position,
out.
9 times out of 10, he just whips it in the right hand. The kick to the keeper's left, whips it in the right hand corner. Left foot, just whip it away from the keeper. And Craig's right; it was just a nothing penalty, was it?
But in a situation like that, you just take the hooks off the bloody net, just hit it as hard as you can. Hurst wouldn't have been, shimmying and just side-footing it. He'd have been slamming it into the back of the net and then heading off to the Wednesday fans to have a little bit of a
giving a flick the bees there, wouldn't he? I think.
Oh dear,
yeah,
but
it was terrible.
Yeah, just one of those moments, and it just deflated the crowd, didn't it? You thought, well. It's another gilt-edged moment of the season which we've ballsed up again.
The Suffolk side reared its head after 16 minutes. That's for sure.
16 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he took it though, Dave. Aren't you? He's surprised he.
Well, he's missed. He's missed before this season, hasn't
he? Morecambe, wasn't it?
Then Evans scored. Then we had Did we miss one against? Who missed one against Derby? Jackson, wasn't it? So our record's not great. I mean, Evans smashed one in against Morecambe, didn't he? So Evans,
I'm sure Burns has taken one this season and scored.
Yeah, probably. It was Evans certainly scored a pen after Chaplin missed one first half.
Yeah.
Evans, or maybe the same. I can't remember. Evans smashed one in, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if one comes up, who's on it next. But I don't think it'll be Connor Chaplin. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 3 out of 4. Yeah, we
missed three of four penalties, says Neil Perks, and Kirk says really affected both crowd and the players that miss. It really
did.
like these can be game-changing moments, and it was certainly a half-changing moment, wasn't it, Craig?
Season-changing moments, can't it, to a certain extent?
Yeah.
Yesterday, but yeah, no, Kirk's exactly right. It's just one of those. Yeah, it's going to
Because
happen.
it was
It
the
always happens to
frustrating
us.
thing. It was a
One of
gift,
those.
wasn't it? I honestly thought, and I think everyone in the ground, well, perhaps not people in in the surround behind it may have had a better view, but it was a weird because we took the penalty, we took the corner short, and then played it in, and then ref lines of flag, ref immediately blew. Oh, for Christ's sake, he's offside. He's played it back to him. He's offside, sort of thing. So it was a real gift. It was a nailed on penalty, but a real gift. And because as you said, Mikey, up to that point, not really anything in the game. A bit of probing here and there, but nothing really from both sides. It was a big miss, that one.
But then, as has been said, the downturn in both performance and mentality on the pitch was pretty startling. To be perfectly honest, we were done for 20 minutes. I know we'll talk about 2 goals, but we were just gone. We were shot to pieces for a good 20 minutes.
Sorry, just to wrap up this penalty miss debacle. Burns scored a spot kick against Rotherham. Says Matt Macon says that Chaplin and Burns scored one each against Rotherham in the FA Cup. So I haven't imagined that, but obviously Chaplin maybe got himself into penalty taking duties with the one against Rotherham in the Cup.
Yeah, maybe.
And Ali Cat says that Chaplin took the ball off Hurst, and that is the right thing to do if he is the penalty taker. Don't think he's going to be the penalty taker anymore. Let's put it that way. And Wednesday punished us for that miss, didn't they? It took them 8 minutes after that. A free kick just barely over halfway, Dave.
It was an interesting one because I've got to say yesterday, Bannon, and we look, Bannon is at that level, we know, and we've said it about before. And I said, yes, after the first game, that they're really not, nothing perhaps without Bannon. And he really didn't have much influence on the game. What he did have an influence on, and Craig's probably right, certainly in the first half, he was never out of the referee's ear right the way through the first half. And this was a quickly taken free kick, clever by him. He puts his hand on the ball, quickly taken free kick. Chaplin switches off a bit to I think it's Johnson, who ironically probably shouldn't have been on there. But from then on, it's a lovely goal. It's a great goal. Johnson just sort of threads it down the line to Windass, and I don't think he's not a naturally left-footed player, but takes it in his stride. First time, really pinging, swinging sort of left foot cross. And it's just a beautiful header, isn't it, Craig? Absolutely twists, gets across. I don't think you can criticise Wolford for that. It's a great header, and you can see it on a great view. It just swings away from Walton in the far corner. It actually sticks in the net. It looks like it sticks in the corner of the net. The cross and the header was an absolute thing of beauty. And at this stage they're on top, big time.
You could potentially have Could Clark have closed down the cross a bit more? He'd sort of just
perhaps,
Clark was caught napping a little bit by the whole free kick. He was out of position.
I think
Ian Westlake on commentary was just saying what a good start to the game that Clark had.
Yeah,
and then they play the free kick quickly, and I'm thinking, where is Clark? And then by the time he gets over, it's too late. It was a fantastic ball in, wasn't it?
A
little bit like a goal we scored a few years ago when Jackson whipped in a cross on his left foot and Norwood headed in at home. I can't remember who it was against.
It
might
maybe
have been a game that we lost under Paul Lambert, would you believe? Fantastic header. And then how many minutes later was it? 7 minutes later, Craig, it's 2-0. And again, it's a free kick roughly on the halfway line. This time it's Flint chipping the ball forward. They weren't slow getting the ball up to those front men, were they, throughout?
No, understandably so. You can see why you do it and feed off the whatever chaos that gets created by Smith. But the ball sort of lands to Bannon, and he just sort of hoists it into the area, doesn't he? Really? There's no real. You're not really aiming for anyone particularly. Just getting it into the box early. Davis, I think maybe he challenges Johnson again. Actually, and it's sort of.
I think it's Windass.
Oh, was it? It doesn't get enough. Yeah, it just falls, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it just falls about 16 yards out. And who's rushing in on that one? Forgive me. Byers. Yeah, of course it's Byers running in from deep. There's no one tracking him. And he slams it past slammed it past Walton. So yeah, well, I was thinking on the drive home, thinking, God, Walton just needs to start saving some of these shots that we're attracting. But Christ Almighty, he couldn't be doing too much about either the ones yesterday. Could he? Going back to that header, that was right in the corner, wasn't it? And this one's just just been slammed in, a bloke on the run from 16 yards. So no, there was
good
no
finish.
chance.
First time finish, good finish, keeps it low, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And and then we're on the ropes, aren't we? We're done. And you say about Ian Westlake saying that Clark had a good first however many minutes. He didn't have a very good subsequent 15 minutes. He was misplacing passes.
Oh yeah,
Wolfenden,
Burns had a right go at him. Burns had a proper go at him, didn't he? Really go. So much so at that point, I thought, oh, mate, he's going to be hooked at half time because, Clark had a real drop of confidence and everything for about 15 minutes. And to be fair, it ran through the team. But I don't really get to it. The turning point in the whole game, really, obviously, our penalty was at 0-0, but I don't quite know what happened. But Wolfenden I don't know what goes on there. Misplaces a pass, doesn't he?
Well, it was Clark's pass, wasn't it? Clark it doesn't really pass it to anybody. He just sort of aimlessly passes it back to the side of Wolfenden and not quite as far enough to Walton.
Yeah.
And they both look at each other. And again, maybe it's to do with the understanding of not playing together very often recently, etc., etc. But they both sort of leave it to each other and both go away from the ball, with the ball just like sitting still in the middle of them. And luckily, Smith's better with his head than he is taking it around the goalkeeper.
It's a horrible touch, and we just survive. I think ends up with the same move. Ends up with Vokes having a shot straight at Walton. But I think Moore made a point of that in his after game interview, where for once I was quite pleased that he didn't laud Ipswich and say, I say quite pleased, but anything, oh yeah, they're the best footballing team. I just don't want to hear that anymore. And he didn't say it, did he? He just said the game turned on that Smith miss because the crowd, if the crowd had turned anyway, but if that had gone in, it would have been toxic, wouldn't it? Absolute, It
was after that shot went straight at Walton from that move that there was basically a collective. You boys need to shape the F up here because we're getting our backsides handed to us. You could just tell it from it was one of those crowd reactions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Baron Harvey says the atmosphere quickly went from disappointment to anger after that second goal.
Oh yeah,
I think this time, Craig, it wasn't necessarily the manner of the goals that we conceded. It was just more the general play in that 15-20 minute spell. We were awful, weren't we? And we just couldn't get a grip on the ball. Sheffield Wednesday were doing the same thing over and over and over again, just getting the ball up to the forwards quickly and then getting players around them. And we were just all over the place and probably thinking there's no way back.
Oh, yeah, 100%. We all know what Sheffield Wednesday's defensive record's like. And, after however many minutes it was, you're 2-0 down and playing like we had done for that period of the game. As you say, there were people leaving, apparently. Not near me, there weren't, but there were people leaving.
Really?
Yeah.
Leaving for a beer, surely.
Probably leaving for a beer, I thought. Yeah.
Beating the queues.
4 minutes.
Beating the queues. And by beating the queues, they would have missed a fantastic goal after a really nice bit of positive play from Broadhead. We just about steadied for about 2 minutes. Broadhead picks the ball up in the 10 position, drives forward, and not for the first or the last time in this game, Sheffield Wednesday are guilty of giving away a free kick in a dangerous position.
Yeah, and it actually came from a nice little cushioned header from Hurst, wasn't it? It was like a diagonal from maybe Wolfenden out to him, and he's backing up, and he really has a nice little cushion header back to the on-rushing Broadhead, who, as you say, Mikey, gets taken down. And we had a few free kicks in and around that area, didn't we? In the second half as well. But Christ almighty, did we need that to go in before half time? Because I think there'd have been an interesting reaction, shall we say, had we gone in at 2-0 down. But Christ, there's another good free kick that end, wasn't there, from Chaplin earlier in the season? But this one's even better, I think.
Barnsley.
This is proper clip off the underside of the crossbar, 24, 25 yards out. And thanks. Good, decent way to open up your account from Broadhead.
They always look better barring in, don't they, Dave?
It's superb technique. It really is superb technique to get that up and down, really. And a bit unlike the penalty, because I think that was Davis. That was nailed on, I think, for Davis to take it. And I think, again, he said in his post-match that Never even seen him take one in training. So obviously confident boy, and absolutely superb
Yes,
technique.
Rob
And
Hughes says seemed odd that no one knew that
no,
Broadhead had that free kick in him.
no,
You would have thought that they would have had someone prepped for a free kick in that area. Maybe it was just a little bit of confusion with Evans not being fit to play. Maybe they do. Maybe they are encouraged to make decisions for
just off the
themselves on the
cuff,
pitch, like
mate.
penalties and free kicks. Seems strange though, doesn't it? As Rob says.
Yeah, I can't imagine that with all the analysis we're doing, all the prep we do, that we haven't got a list of players that if the ball's in that specific area, it's going to be a bit like a football manager. You got a ranking of who you're having taken the free kicks. But
it would be Diamond or Roycer, maybe Murin over the other side.
Probably in that order. I think he might find himself, the recipient of a few more if he continues like that in that position. It was just superb, wasn't it? And you're right, just scrapes the bar and in, and it still picking up power as it goes in. Fantastic goal.
Jimmy Warne-esque. Nat says from the Sheffield Wednesday perspective, Iorfa at fault for the free kick. Yeah, he did lunge in there a little bit.
And I've got to say, the atmosphere after that went in, Craig, was, I think, obviously a lot of relief in there, but my God, it was superb, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it needed to be, didn't it? Because I say it was just flip flopping, wasn't it? It went from. I think everyone was nervous at the beginning, understandably. The crowd were nervous, and that may have just sort of emanated on the pitch. But yeah, it soon turned to despair and anger, and then probably a lot of thank God for that. Whatever emotion you want to describe that as, just before half time, because I say it was 100% needed. 2-0 down would have been horrendous, certainly after that performance.
It's just the context in it. You don't get that free kick. You go in 2-0 down, you're getting booed in. They're definitely getting booed in. So, at half time, it was, polite. Yeah, all right, we're back in this, and still polite applause and stuff. But 2-0 down, and the way we were performing, that wouldn't have been nice at half time. So, just the ticket then.
Yeah, no subs at half time, Dave. Was that at all a surprise for you?
Well,
I was
again,
anticipating
do you know what?
Donacien maybe coming on for Clark.
Yeah, on it, and Craig might agree, but I think, again, had that free kick not gone in, I wouldn't at all been surprised if Donacien had come on for Clark. Not at all, maybe. Other changes, I don't know, but I'd have certainly thought hard about that one.
And maybe Wolfenden as well. He had a appalling 20-25 minutes.
Yeah, there wasn't. Who would have come?
Yeah, Lee or Donacien, wasn't it?
No Keogh on the bench, so perhaps. But look, as it turned out, I guess good decision.
Yeah, it might be one of those occasions whereby you boys have got us into this position. I'm going to give you 15 minutes to get us the hell out of it, sort of thing. Yeah, put the onus on them again.
Yeah. And to be fair to them, they did. We did come out fast at the start of the second half. Davis has a free kick on 48, which is just too long for Burgess. But Wednesday are consistently giving fouls away in dangerous areas, and that isn't just down to them. We were finding Chaplin, we were finding Broadhead with the ball into feet, weren't we, around the box?
Yeah.
Byers brings down Chaplin in the 50th minute, Dave, and they're made to pay by another direct free kick shot at goal.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of think Barley Mumba's goal, to a degree, the Fleetwood equaliser, and it's from a similar position, very similar position actually to the Fleetwood goal at the same end, up the Bobby Robson end. Davis just good connection, lines it up, left foot from an angle to the right of the box, and think that's Byers, isn't it? Takes a deflection off Byers, and Dawson's got no chance, completely wrong footed, and just ends up in the far corner. Game on at that stage, and the atmosphere is good. And what I liked about that, there was no real celebration. There's a bit of high five, and then that's it. He's back. Davis was back, lifting up the crowd. Let's go again, sort of thing.
Yeah, they were pumped, but they weren't celebrating. They weren't wasting any time
No,
celebrating.
Not at all. And we'd started the half really with that intensity, really on the front foot. So, and again, you can see, obviously the effect. I mean, we've been there this season. How many times we've been there this season? You could see the immediate effect it had on the Wednesdayites in the Cobbold stand.
Absolutely, and it's a completely different game at this stage. Our back four far more advanced, a lot higher up the pitch, which seems to suit Wolfenden a lot more, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And Morsey just seemed to be landing on the ball constantly. Every time Sheffield Wednesday got rid of the ball, it found its way into Morsey.
Yeah.
Every time we got the ball, it found its way to
We had
Morsey as well.
we had some chances. There was my God, there was like a Zidane-like volley from Chaplin, wasn't it?
Chaplin, yeah. Well
Crikey, if
held
that'd have been
by Dawson, that one,
right,
wasn't it?
straight. It was sort of above his head,
Mm.
but what a effort that was. And then there was the corner where Chaplin, again, it falls to Chaplin, I think, almost point blank, but it just falls, I guess, to the wrong player, doesn't it?
His head, heads it straight at the keeper, didn't he?
Yeah.
But
then after that,
it was that was the
sort of-
period though, wasn't it? It was that 15, 20-minute period where we were on top, but then now we can argue about whether it's the subs or not, but the momentum just went and petered out, and that wasn't by virtue, I don't think, of Sheffield Wednesday particularly getting on top, but we had a lot of the ball, didn't we? But there was a lot of just passing it across 25, 30 yards out from like flank to flank, and you're thinking, well, somebody at some point is either going to get a cross in here or just have a shot. But we just don't. We just seem to be waiting and waiting for that.
To be fair, I can remember there was a couple. Clark perhaps had an effort. Even Chaplin had an effort, and they defended well. I think they did defend quite well. Well, obviously, look at their record, for goodness' sake. And I know when Jackson came on, and a couple of times he got to the line, and it looked like he put good balls in. And I'm always a critical of missed the first defender, but sometimes you've got to just give credit to the defence, and they just seem to get blocks in and stuff. And
defend the box,
and they really weren't creating anything. Bannon, I can't remember him doing anything at all in the second. Well, eventually he got substituted, and then they just anything they created towards the end was long throws and corners, really set plays, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
I think there's a lot of conversation in the chat. Sorry about subs. Romeo saying too many subs too early for me, and Kirk says too many subs broke up the flow of the game. And it was the 68th minute when we made that double sub, Harness and Adapo coming on for Chaplin and Hurst. I think Hurst maybe that he played well, but maybe 70 minutes is just about what he can manage at the moment from the start in a game of that intensity. A little bit disappointing to see Chaplin come off, though, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe, but I just don't really. I know. Look, to be centre forward in our team, it's bloody tiring. I'm sure. Who am I to talk? But these boys have to do a lot of running around and chasing and closing down and harrying, etc., etc. So maybe they are blowing at their backsides by 70 minutes. But I can't imagine any of these guys are particularly happy being taken off. We're on top. We've got the crowd behind us. We've got a bit of momentum behind us. And if there's no real requirement to make the change, then just let it ride out a bit.
Or not two, just stagger it. Just make the Hurst Ladapo and just give Chaplin another 10 minutes.
Yeah, because Harness has then got to find his way into the game, hasn't he? Which, to be fair, he did better than he has done at times this season. But the sting just seemed to just go out of the game, didn't it?
I think I didn't hear it, but I think Mick Mills says exactly the same on Radio Suffolk, that it seems these subs are always pre-planned. Doesn't seem to be, no matter what the pattern, no matter what the state of the game is, these subs always seem to be 60, 70 minutes, two on, two off. And I think he made the point that perhaps it does disrupt the rhythm and the flow of the game.
He did make a good point, actually. I did manage to get back to the car in time to listen to it. He said basically that the 11 that were on the pitch hadn't turned up for the first half. They only started playing on 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. So, you got to let these guys, having now got their backsides in gear,
see it out.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, and funnily enough, the closest anyone comes to scoring between then and the end of the game is Sheffield Wednesday, with Flint going up for a free kick. I think there was a question here that somebody got in early doors about how Flint got himself.
I mean,
he's quite
free. He's quite conspicuous, isn't he?
Yeah, Eric Clacton. How did Flint creep to the far post? I marked in the second half because the camera was zoomed in on Bannon, and he just sort of chips the ball to the far post. My initial thought is, he's overhit that. But then Flint arrives on the scene. Then he heads it across the face. It was just carnage in there, and it falls to him. absolutely smashes the half volley and somehow doesn't score. Your heart must have been in your mouth at that stage, Craig.
Yeah, I think it was Burgess. Because again, it's right in front of us. That's the line we look at. That's the goal line we look down. I think it was Burgess who completely lost him. Maybe that he's got a headband, not a cloak of invisibility. He's got a headband of invisibility, an Alice band of invisibility. But yeah, so luckily he just, and to be fair, he's scored an awful lot of goals, hasn't he? But I don't know if he scored many volleys at the back post. But yeah, luckily slices it high and wide. And
I know someone said, who I think was sitting in Sir Alf, that there was pretty much some decent NFL blocking going on in the penalty area, which perhaps wasn't picked up by the ref and stuff. But
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, of all people, yeah, so it just loomed into view. Oh, hang on, there you go.
Aluko and Jackson then come on for Burns and Broadhead. Didn't mind that one really because Burns didn't really have much luck in that game, and it's always good to have Aluko on the pitch when you need a goal. And he had some nice touches. He came on in the 10, didn't he? And Jackson went over to the right.
Yeah, Jackson went right. Yeah, I think a word on Broadhead. I mean, a free kick apart, he's going to be a player for us. I think you can see it. He's just really direct, isn't he, Craig? He gets the ball at his feet, and his first thought is to, really go at go at his defender, go at the opponent. Obviously, I don't think we've seen free kick apart. I don't think we've seen anything like the best of him yet. But yeah, he looks to be a player, that's for sure.
I did mention it just after he joined. I think I mentioned on here that the Mayor of Brightsea is a Sunderland man and a Sunderland fan, and he couldn't not speak highly enough of Broadhead. He said, if you can keep him fit, he said he'll be an absolutely fantastic player for you. He's just got the movement, the touch, the finish. He can dribble, he can shoot, he can head. He's just a really good player.
He's the type of player that's only going to get better as well when the pitches get better, because
exactly the point I was going to make
yesterday was terrible.
Exactly the point I was going to. Again, not just the picture. At first half, him more than anyone, 2 or 3 times, just lost his footing. Lost his footing in the. Lost his footing in the pitch. Yeah. So you'd think that that really can't come quick enough.
And we do have one late chance. I think it was in injury time, wasn't it, with Ladapo sort of getting onto a half chance, sort of lashes at a shot into the ground, and it goes agonisingly wide.
It's quite good defending, I think. I think it's Clark has a couple of goes. Clark has one cross, which I think is almost cleared, and the ball's recycled back to him. And it's a decent ball because it falls. He's only about 7 yards out. And again, when myself and Craig's obviously higher, I'm lower than Craig. It looks like, is that going to nestle in the corner? But that's not that far wide. But again, I think the defender just gets across him and gets a decent challenge in there.
And just going back to Broadhead, because these comments always come in slightly after we've moved on from them. But if they're good comments, good questions, we will go back to them. Kieran McKenna said Broadhead has to get used to our system as he's been used to operating a team with a low block at Wigan. So we do have to cut him some slack, but it's going to be huge for him getting off the mark, isn't it, Craig?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was sort of intimating about the fitness side of things. He also said that the ball's in play a lot more. We try and keep the ball in play a lot more than he's probably used to as well. So in our number 10 position, similar to the centre forward, you're expecting our number 10s to be buzzing around constantly for the time that they're on the pitch, and the ball hopefully is going to be fed into them an awful lot. So they're on the go for the vast majority of the time that they're on the pitch. So yeah, hopefully as you say, Mike, it's only going to get better from here on in for him.
And I think another shout for Harry Clark's throws. They are going to be weapons for us. Because I don't know how it looked on iFollow, Mikey, but he just throws these balls in
serious power
flat, doesn't he?
Yeah,
absolutely bends his back and slings them in.
And with no run up. It's not as if he's got a big run up. He's only got about 2 yards before he's got his.
He did at Cambridge.
Yeah, no, exactly. But he doesn't at home, does he? He doesn't have a.
No. God, flipping heck. No, that
could have a good run up at Bristol Rovers if he plays as well. Let's. So it's 2-2 is how it finished. Let's have a look at these stats. Yeah, probably not a huge surprise. It kind of goes along with everything that we've seen so far this season, and that we need quite a high XG to score. Sheffield Wednesday don't. They take their chances.
Is that inclusive of the penalty though? Ours?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
Good
so
shout. Yeah.
that's quite high XG because obviously neither of our goals had particularly high XG. So
No.
It's probably equal then, isn't it? To be fair,
Yeah.
0.8, 0.8 or thereabouts. You'd think.
Yeah.
You'd think.
So yeah, that's that. I know not everyone's a huge fan of the stats, so we'll move on from that one. I think there's a few comments about us maybe making changes because of becoming a little bit too stats obsessed. Would either of you go along with that?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, we've got a lot of lot of analysts. Careful, Craig. So yeah, maybe we are being a bit too clever for our own good. I don't know.
Where I sit, sometimes I sit, before the game, and you see the town entourage. I mean, obviously there's more on the bench now because there's 5, 7 subs, whatever. Walk out, and it's like never ending. What are they doing? Where are they all going? It's incredible, absolutely incredible. I mean, I've got a full medical team. God, I remember there was Bobby Robson, Bobby Ferguson, and a geezer with a sponge
and a bucket and a
that
sponge. Yeah,
that was it.
Brilliant.
Incredible.
One sub.
But,
yeah,
yeah,
and I
there's
can tell
certainly
you,
enough.
having sat next to Craig this season, they all look up and wave at Craig on the way out, as do a lot of the players as well.
Sam Morsey blows kisses. Sam Morsey blows kisses at me every single match as he walks out the tunnel.
Yeah. Connor Chaplin always, when he scores at that, and always goes to celebrate with Craig. Yeah.
Right.
Just about those stats though, Mikey. That it's not necessarily the shots that we had or didn't have. It's just taking advantage when you've got that momentum in the game, isn't it? And we just didn't create too much, really, did we, Dave? In terms of shots on proper shots on target. That 15,
we seem to be able to
minutes,
get back into games, but then when we're on top,
not finish them off.
That could be the narrative of so many. That was the narrative at Cambridge last week, wasn't
Portsmouth.
it? It really was. Portsmouth. So many.
Go really again, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Let's have a look at the other results then. They didn't. One result went our way. Wickham winning 3-2 against Derby, finally putting an end to that run. But Barnsley, decent win for them against Cambridge.
Had 10 men, didn't they, for over a half? They had a man sent off in the first half. Yeah, well, cheers, Cambridge.
Well done, lads.
What are the other big ones? Bristol Rovers, who we play on Tuesday night, lost away at Lincoln. I think they're in a pretty bad run of form. I only noticed today what a good run of form Shrewsbury are in. 3-2 winners over Port Vale. They're, as we'll see in a minute, outside bet for the playoffs.
Just won 6 on the spin. They've just won.
And Bolton 5-0 away at Peterborough. Who saw that one coming?
Saw the highlights. Clark Harris missed absolute sitter, I think, at 1-0. And then the game just ran away from him.
Grant McCann will be finding his manager's coat again out the cupboard, I'd have thought. He'll be back in next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe Barry Fry.
Did I not see that obviously Plymouth beating Pompey? Did I not see that Pompey had something like 23 shots? Well done, Pompey, 4 on target.
So Plymouth.
Joe Pigott playing, was he?
Didn't even mention Plymouth winning 1-0 at home to Portsmouth. So they've gone back to the top on 64 points. So, by my maths, that's 8 points off the top and 6 points off second. And Sheffield Wednesday have a game in hand.
I mean, their home form is just something to behold, isn't it? It is just absolutely ridiculous. Is it something like 14?
They'd be 10th.
Won 14, drawn 0, and lost. I think, did they not lose? Was it Port Vale who beat them at home? I'm sure it's someone like Port Vale. Their home form, they just steamroller everybody. It's incredible.
Yeah, it said, I was reading on Twitter today, they'd be 10th on their home form alone.
Wow.
It is absolutely nuts. And they got that. I mean, obviously Whittaker's gone. We know they lost Cooper. That Finazaz is back and fit. He scored quite a good goal yesterday, didn't he?
Are you at all worried about Bolton now being level on points with us, albeit with a game in hand? Of course we are.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got to play them at their place. Yeah.
And Derby.
And Barnsley.
Derby net level with us. Yeah. It's all a bit of a worry, isn't it? Now we're looking down at Wickham and bloody Shrewsbury, aren't we?
But if we win the next 4, then we'll be fine. We'll be saying that in.
We've got both Wickham and Shrewsbury at home, haven't we? We've got to play those 2 at home. and
everyone else away,
and
isn't
all
it?
the others away.
Yeah, there's a lot of, well, if we can win the next 4 or 4 at the next 5, yeah, that's a big if when you've only, the maximum we've done is 4 in a row, isn't it? In August,
And
September.
I haven't won 2 in a row since October. Is that right?
Before Charlton, wasn't it? Yeah.
Ooh.
Good a time as any, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got to be done right.
Look,
I've starred some of
you have
these.
got to take some positives out of the last 5 minutes of and certainly the second half. I think given the context of yesterday, I think you've got to take positives from that.
Yeah, they've got to take that momentum, haven't they? I say it's just that. To my eyes, it's just that when you just need that little bit of blood and thunder, just a bit of chaos.
Keep it on.
That last 10 minutes of a match, just keep your foot on the throat and go again. As you said, go again. We just don't seem to have it in us for some reason. I don't know why it is.
Fades, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Charlie D says the man in the yellow shoes needs to start earning his money again, Craig.
He certainly does. Yeah, I did mention that somewhere or other. Yeah, because that's exactly why he's in the makeup, isn't it? Is to those moments in games, like the penalty, for example, it's being cold as ice and not letting it affect you if it misses you, because that affected us. It affected the whole team for 20, 25 minutes after we missed that. And that is, you would have thought, why he's in the building, to eliminate that sort of thing from happening.
Paul M. Don't understand the constant changes. Edwards made an impact at Cambridge and yet doesn't make the bench. Yeah, a little bit harsh on Edwards, but I guess there wasn't really
I'd always
any
have a
huge
fit Edwards.
shocks.
I'd always try and find room for a fit Edwards on the bench because he is different. He is, and he's got a trick, hasn't he? He is different. I'd always.
Do you think it was a little bit unnecessary, maybe, to have? But then Greg Lee ended up coming on at the end, didn't he?
Yeah.
Or did I imagine that?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, but then, Christ, if you can't, how many substitutes do we have to have? How big a subs bench do we have to try and fit Edwards in it? Christ. But then you've got Jackson.
It is nuts. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
when you look at it. So no Edmondson yesterday, no Edwards. I mean, they'd walk into both sides, obviously.
You have a Luco for the way he played in the cups. You'd have him on the bench. You'd obviously got to have Ladapo on the bench. You haven't got any centre midfield. You haven't got
well against Burnley, didn't he? I suppose.
But we haven't got a centre midfielder on the bench. So there's surely a space for Edwards there somewhere.
You'd have thought so.
He did as the comment said, he did so well last week. He changed the game last week, albeit we only got the ball to him once or twice afterwards, even though he had their fullback on toast.
And I think he is our one substitute that has. Games this season has affected games, hasn't he? Clearly affected games, not just the Cambridge game, or Cambridge at home game as well. Actually, I think, he has had a positive impact. When a lot of the times we make these substitutions and it's a bit meh, isn't it? But he certainly has done.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah, Michael Warner goes along with that. He says we need some changes on the bench rather than same for some subs. Louis Hunt Cole, football is a very simple game. Just kick it in the back of the net. Okay. We overcomplicate this with NFL-style special teams for every game in the pursuit of the perfect XG goal. Do you think that's fair?
Well, we don't. Excuse me. We don't know the reasoning behind the changes, do we? We don't know if it's fitness related or what. But it would just be nice just to have a constant core of a team that just plays for the next half a dozen or so games. I think in terms of the pursuit of the perfect XG goal, potentially, I don't know. It just would be nice just occasionally just to have a pot shot out of nowhere.
Just kick it in the goal hole.
Just kick it in the goal and stop it from going the other bloody goal.
The goal hole. That's all you need to do.
Paul M again. Haven't been the biggest fan of Caden Jackson. I think probably we're all in the same boat there. But after the way he played in both Burnley games, I think he's currently offering more than Burns does down that right flank. I think we'll see him on Tuesday night in that position. What say you?
I think we will. It's funny about Burns. I don't think Burns has hit the heights that he certainly did in games last season. I think we've perhaps documented that quite well on the pod because perhaps teams have got wise to us and perhaps are more doubling up on him from time to time. And I think we made a point on the pod in midweek or no, we weren't allowed to speak in midweek about Sheffield, but last week and the week before that Burns, in the big games has come up with goals in the big games. Winner against Derby, great strike against Plymouth, and assists as well. But yeah, he wasn't. Again, I thought he was quite quiet yesterday. Certainly wasn't his best game yesterday.
But we could understand why he went for Burns. He's
of course
probably more of a goal threat than Caden Jackson, and
as I said, a big game
in the big games
and a big game, absolutely a big game player. But
someone mentioned in the chat there that it doesn't seem to be taking his man on as much anymore, and that's something that my friend who I sit with, Glenn, he's forever saying, because I say again, it's right in front of us, isn't it, Dave? First half normally, just take your man on, just go, just take him on.
What he used to do, Craig, was he did beat him. He'd get it out of his feet, like let's say, different level. But Beckham used to do, not blessed with great pace, Burns has, but he'd just get it out of his feet, move the ball half a yard, and whip it in. Just doesn't do. I think he did it once yesterday, and not very well. So
the thing is, if you do it once, if you beat your man once, certainly for pace, if you knock it past your fullback and you burn him for pace once in the first 5-10 minutes, then he's on the back foot straight away, isn't he, for the rest of the match?
But I agree with Barron there. I'd think that Jackson, but that's the kind of game that Jackson will start on Tuesday. I would have thought.
Cameron Humphreys, Marcy Bolts asks, as much as I love Humphreys, has anyone feel he got bullied off the ball quite a lot yesterday? I think maybe when we were bad, he struggled, but when we were good, he was very good, wasn't he?
He was. I think it was just they had a bit too much know-how for him, perhaps first half, a bit too cute for him. I think, and like I said, I think the game just passed him by. But yeah, certainly second half, like we were, he was a lot better.
He was very safe as well.
Yep.
First half, very, very safe. Overly, really.
Matt says the thing about Ipswich is they always try to walk it in. Very good, like that. Although that's a quote from a comedy sketch called Youngsters, he 100% agrees. We need to attack with pace. And Nat says, it doesn't matter what level you play at, defenders hate pace, but Burns has pace as well, doesn't he?
Oh, to be fair, they also hate 6'6" centre forwards who can header the ball into the top corner on the run,
from 18 yards
on the angle.
Hell of a header, wasn't it? You won't see many better. I keep thinking about that now. You won't see many better than that, will you? It was absolute picture goal, that one. Yeah.
And you've both commented on how good the atmosphere was yesterday. It definitely came across more so than the other big games recently. Rob says club needs to rethink how they generate more pre-match atmosphere. Need a fresher soundtrack and announcer. Is that fair?
Yeah, possibly. Might be something they look at over the summer. It's not the sort of thing you can say yourself with right now, I don't think. But yeah, very possibly just to like a stadium of light, kind of whipping people up into a frenzy before the start of the match. Maybe
there was plenty of talk on our Telegram group about that, wasn't it? About tunes and stuff to come out with. I mean, I always get there about 2 minutes to 3 anyway, but it's still Fatboy Slim, isn't it? Is it still Fatboy Slim?
Yeah.
So. Right, yeah.
I can't hear it.
At least they got rid of that.
Usually.
They got rid of that knockoff Sweet Caroline that they refused to pay Neil Diamond.
Do you know what?
PRS, so they got some bloke from the pub to sing it.
It's been said before, just hark back to the good old days. Entry of the Gladiators is what we want. Entry of the Gladiators. Bring it back. I think we should start a campaign. I'm going to start a campaign.
It's not the circus music.
Yes, of course it is. Yes.
Yeah, not sure it sets the right tone. They could have played it at half time. Had Broadhead not scored that goal for half time, they could have played that as they walked off the pitch, couldn't they?
Probably, to be fair, yeah.
Right, gents, we're in the position now where we can talk about the next game because there won't be a pre-match show for Bristol Rovers. There's going to be a live reaction show. I think Craig and I are both at the Memorial Stadium on Tuesday night. So if we do a Tuesday night live reaction, neither of us will be on, but could be you, Dave, if you're watching.
Possibly, I think I might be. I certainly will be watching on iFollow. I thought I'm a bit disappointed. I thought one of you, would get in Craig's car and do what I've just witnessed.
Yeah, I have just seen. Yeah,
I have just seen a 5-goal away victory.
So just on Bristol Rovers, I'm going to ask you both for your teams.
Ooh.
Your teams, not what you think McKenna will go for. What would you go for? Obviously, because you're the experts.
Yeah, of course.
Having just said we need to start keeping the same team, I was just going to make
Edmondson
8
and Keogh.
changes. Yeah, chuck out the back
Donatian,
centre half pairing.
Lee, Ledkin goal.
I'd keep the same back. Well, we'll call it a back four. We'll keep the same back four, the same goalkeeper. I'd have Luongo instead of Humphries if he's fit.
Yeah.
As people have said, I'd have Jackson. You'd keep Broadhead, wouldn't you? Broadhead and Chaplin probably again, and Ladapo, yeah. Poor
One
boy.
or t'other. I'd have thought maybe Ladapo.
Yeah.
So 3 changes.
Get Edwards on the bench. 3 changes, but a settled back four. Same back four, yeah.
And Edwards on the bench, as you say.
Yeah, get him on the bench.
Okay, yeah, just a question. I think this is another Sheffield Wednesday fan. Bannon isn't up to speed yet. He missed 2 games with a hamstring injury, came back too early and aggravated the injury, then missed another 6 games. His first game out was Plymouth last week, but he was still decent, I thought.
There was one ball, wasn't there, in the when they were kicking towards the North Stand, where he just played it, sort of passed down into the right channel, didn't he? First time.
Yeah.
He thought, yeah, that's decent.
Yeah, no, there was a couple of drag backs and stuff like that. I think we were just, perhaps I'm just thinking more about the second half where he really didn't show because we were, on top dominating, but had a lot of possession and he just didn't land on the ball. But yeah, he was he's very influential, but he's very influential trying to be very influential with the referee right the way through the first half. Yeah, interesting.
That's what you get for £20,000 a week, I suppose.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Right. I think this is as good a place to finish as any. Bristol Rovers on Tuesday night, and then it's Forest Green next Saturday, isn't it? So a good chance to get back to winning ways. We'll be 5 games unbeaten if we do that, gents. Are we worried about not even making the playoffs if we fail to take 6 points from this next 2?
Do you know what? Yesterday I did say in the pub, I said, do you know what? And I tempted, I said, if we get beat today, it's going to be such a downer. You know, we struggled to make the playoffs and got shouted down big time. But I think we should. I did come out with some credit yesterday, and I think it gives you heart after, given the context of the game yesterday and display. Look, against Sheffield Wednesday, I think they're going to go up top 2, no doubt about it. I think. But you just don't know, do you? You just don't know. Bristol Rovers away. Will we put in another first half as we did against? I just don't.
We surely can't, can we, Craig?
Well, you think not. You think not, but
yeah, the Cambridge wasn't a great first half, and yesterday wasn't a spectacular first half, was it? So we've got to come out fighting. At some point, their team have got to be so riled up and annoyed and angry that they just got to come out fighting from the very, very first whistle.
Yeah.
If Shrewsbury can go on a run, there's no reason why we can't. And as Joe's very intelligently said earlier today, in each of these games, we will be odds-on favourite to win.
Yeah.
Individually, you're going into Tuesday, going into Saturday, we'll be cracking ridiculously odds-on. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be winning all of these games. That's over to the players to do so.
I said, according to the bookies, would have been up by now. I think we've been odds-on in every single game.
Yeah, what do the bookies know? Hey, but yeah,
what do they know?
Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Please drop us a like on YouTube if you've enjoyed tonight's show. And yeah, on to Bristol Rovers we go.